In the early morning hours of June 15, 2013, a vibrant 19-year-old college student named Adrienne Celeste Salinas vanished without a trace in Tempe, Arizona. What began as a typical summer night out with friends would spiral into a perplexing mystery that continues to baffle investigators to this day. Adrienne was a bright, ambitious young woman studying at Gateway Community College in Maricopa County. She dreamed of becoming a journalist and was known for her intelligence and motivation. With a distinctive sun tattoo below her left ear and a clear stoned lip piercing, Adrienne had a unique style that matched her vivacious personality. On the evening of June 14th, Adrienne and her roommates hosted a party at their apartment near West 5th Street and South Hardy Drive. As the night wore on, Adrienne and her longtime boyfriend, Francisco Arteaga, whom she had known since 8th grade, got into an argument. Around 2:30 a.m., the couple left the party to talk things over at Francisco's apartment in Scottsdale. According to Francisco, Adrienne decided not to stay overnight, so he drove her back to her own apartment around 3 a.m. This would be the last time Francisco would see his girlfriend alive. The events that unfolded in the next few hours would prove crucial to the investigation. Shortly before 4 a.m., one of Adrienne's roommates saw her leaving their apartment again, this time with an overnight bag. It appeared Adrienne had changed her mind and was planning to return to Francisco's apartment. At approximately 3:45 a.m., Tempe police received a call reporting a car accident near Ash Avenue and Rio Salado Parkway. The caller stated that a vehicle had hit a median, popping 2 tires, and was attempting to leave the scene. Police would later confirm that the abandoned car belonged to Adrienne Salinas. Phone records show that between 4:10 a.m. and 4:45 a.m., Adrienne called Francisco 11 times and sent a text message indicating she was on her way to his apartment. At 4:53 a.m., Adrienne spoke with a cab driver, arranging for a pickup at a nearby AM/PM convenience store at the corner of Hardy and University Drives. This is where the trail goes cold. When the cab driver arrived at the designated pickup location, Adrienne was nowhere to be found. Attempts to reach her by phone were futile. Her cell phone had been turned off at 5:07 a.m. Adrienne Salinas had vanished in the span of just 14 minutes, leaving investigators with a baffling timeline and more questions than answers. The disappearance of Adrienne Salinas quickly became a high-priority case for the Tempe Police Department. As Father's Day approached on June 16th, Adrienne's father, Rick Salinas, grew increasingly concerned when he didn't hear from his daughter. They had planned to spend the day together, and her silence was uncharacteristic. Rick reported Adrienne missing, setting off an intensive search effort. Investigators began by thoroughly canvassing Adrienne's neighborhood and interviewing those closest to her. They questioned Francisco Arteaga and the cab driver who was supposed to pick Adrienne up, but both were eventually cleared of suspicion. The police even searched nearby Tempe Town Lake, but these initial efforts yielded no significant leads or suspects. As days turned into weeks, the case garnered national attention. The FBI joined the investigation, offering additional resources and expertise. A $20,000 reward was established for information leading to Adrienne's whereabouts or the arrest of those responsible for her disappearance. Despite the increased attention and resources, the case remained frustratingly cold until August 6, 2013, nearly 2 months after Adrienne vanished. On that day, a man reported finding human remains on his property near Apache Junction, Arizona, approximately 30 miles east of Tempe. The discovery was prompted by an unusual gathering of vultures in the area. Investigators rushed to the scene, hoping for a breakthrough, but dreading the possibility of a tragic outcome. The remains were in an advanced state of decomposition, having been exposed to the harsh desert environment for weeks. The location was a remote desert wash basin, an area prone to flash flooding during monsoon season. On August 15, 2013, DNA analysis confirmed what many had feared. The remains were those of Adrienne Salinas. The discovery shifted the focus of the investigation from a missing person case to a potential homicide. However, the autopsy results were frustratingly inconclusive. The medical examiner's report listed both the manner and cause of death as undetermined, leaving investigators with more questions than answers. The condition and location of Adrienne's remains presented new challenges for the investigation. Police believed that her body had likely been dumped in a different location and washed to the discovery site by recent rainstorms. This theory complicated efforts to pinpoint where and how Adrienne had died, as well as the movements of her potential killer. As investigators delved deeper into the case, they began to piece together a timeline of Adrienne's final known movements. The 14-minute window between her last phone call and her failure to meet the cab became the focal point of the investigation. What happened during those crucial minutes that led to Adrienne's disappearance and ultimate death? Detectives retraced Adrienne's steps, examining surveillance footage from businesses along her expected route to the AM/PM convenience store. They interviewed residents in the area, hoping someone might have seen or heard something unusual in the early morning hours of June 15th. Despite these efforts, no eyewitnesses came forward with information about Adrienne's movements after she left her apartment. The investigation also focused on Adrienne's cell phone, which had inexplicably been turned off at 5:07 a.m. Attempts to locate the device proved fruitless, leaving investigators without a crucial piece of potential evidence. The missing phone could have provided valuable data about Adrienne's location and communications in her final hours. As months passed, investigators pursued various leads and theories. They looked into Adrienne's personal life, examining her relationships and any potential conflicts. They also considered the possibility that Adrienne had been the victim of a random act of violence or abduction. Each lead was meticulously followed, but none provided the breakthrough needed to solve the case. One person of interest who emerged during the investigation was Thomas Simon Jr., a local man who had allegedly made suspicious comments about Adrienne's disappearance. However, despite extensive questioning and investigation, no concrete evidence linked Simon to the crime, and he was never charged. The case took an unexpected turn when Brian Patrick Miller, known as the Zombie Hunter due to his elaborate costume and modified car, was arrested in 2015 for 2 other murders in the Phoenix area. Given the similarities in the cases, investigators looked into possible connections between Miller and Adrienne's disappearance. However, no definitive link was established, and Miller was not charged in relation to Adrienne's case. As years passed, Adrienne's family and friends continued to seek justice and closure. They organized vigils, maintained social media pages dedicated to the case, and worked tirelessly to keep Adrienne's story in the public eye. The Tempe Police Department and FBI maintained the case as an active investigation, periodically reviewing evidence and following up on new leads as they emerged. Despite these ongoing efforts, the case of Adrienne Salinas remains unsolved to this day. The circumstances surrounding her disappearance and death continue to puzzle investigators and haunt her loved ones. The classification of her case as a suspicious death, rather than a confirmed homicide, adds another layer of complexity to the investigation. As of 2024, More than a decade after Adrienne's disappearance, no arrests have been made and no suspects have been officially named in connection with her death. The $20,000 reward for information leading to the resolution of the case remains unclaimed. The unsolved nature of Adrienne's case serves as a stark reminder of the challenges faced by law enforcement in cold cases. It also underscores the enduring pain experienced by families of victims in unresolved crimes. Adrienne Salinas, a young woman full of promise and ambition, vanished in the span of 14 minutes, leaving behind a mystery that continues to defy explanation. In the quiet town of Waitsfield, Vermont, a mystery has haunted residents for over 15 years. On October 15, 2006, 34-year-old Donald Messier vanished without a trace after leaving a house party in the early morning hours. What makes this case particularly baffling is that Messier's bright red 1997 Ford F-150 truck also disappeared, leaving investigators and loved ones searching for answers. Donald Messier, known affectionately as Donnie to friends and family, was a beloved figure in his community. A native of nearby Waterbury, Donnie was described as a gentle giant with a heart of gold. Standing at an imposing height, he sported a mustache and goatee, with a small birthmark on his neck and surgical scars on both wrists from carpal tunnel surgery. At the time of his disappearance, Donnie was going through a difficult period in his life. Recently divorced, he had moved in with his sister, Amy Currier, and her family. Despite this personal setback, those close to him say he was showing signs of moving past his depression. Donnie was a hard worker, holding down 2 jobs, working the night shift at the Green Mountain Coffee Roaster plant and part-time at Billings Mobil gas station, both in Waterbury. The events leading up to Donnie's disappearance seemed ordinary enough. On Saturday, October 14th, he worked his shift at Billings Mobil until 3 p.m. After work, he spent time at his grandfather's shop doing brake work. In the early evening, Donnie watched a NASCAR race with a friend in Duxbury before heading to a gathering in Waitsfield. It was at this party where Donnie was last seen. Witnesses report that he left the gathering sometime between 12:30 and 2 a.m. on Sunday, October 15th. No one reported anything unusual about his behavior or demeanor. He did not appear intoxicated, nor did he leave with anyone. This is where the trail goes cold. When Donnie failed to return home after the party, his sister Amy wasn't immediately alarmed. She knew he had plans with a friend on Sunday. However, concern grew when he didn't show up for his night shift at the coffee plant on Monday, and there was no sign he had been home since Saturday. Attempts to reach him by cell phone went unanswered, with calls eventually going straight to voicemail. On October 18th, 3 days after Donnie was last seen, his family reported him missing to the Waterbury Police Department. The case was quickly transferred to the Vermont State Police, who issued a public alert that same day. In early November, authorities released a follow-up notice appealing to hikers and hunters to be on the lookout for Donnie's distinctive vehicle, a red 1997 Ford F-150 pickup with Vermont license plate BGG 890, dual exhaust, a moon visor, a black tonneau cover, and NASCAR sticker numbers 27, 07, and 08 displayed in the rear window. The investigation faced immediate challenges. Despite extensive searches, including efforts at the Waterbury Reservoir and granite quarries in Barr, no trace of Donnie or his truck was found. Police monitored his financial accounts and phone records, but there was no activity after his last known phone call to a friend at 1:30 a.m. on October 15th, shortly after leaving the party. Investigators interviewed the party hosts and attendees, but a puzzling silence seemed to descend over the tight-knit Waitsfield community. With approximately 50-60 people at the gathering, it was surprising that no one could provide substantial leads. Even more perplexing was the reported lack of participation by party attendees in subsequent search efforts, which stood in stark contrast to the enthusiastic involvement of Donnie's other friends. As the investigation progressed, two primary theories emerged. The first suggested that Donnie, despondent over his recent divorce, may have died by suicide. However, this theory failed to account for the missing truck. The second hypothesis proposed that Donnie might have swerved to avoid an animal while driving, resulting in an accident that remained undiscovered. Yet this scenario seemed increasingly unlikely as years passed without any discovery, even after significant landscape disruptions caused by events like Hurricane Irene in 2011. As time passed, rumors and alternative theories began to circulate. Donnie's close friend Chris, who didn't attend the party, suggested in an interview with the Vanished podcast that something may have happened at the gathering. There were whispers of a potential altercation over a love triangle and unsubstantiated rumors about drugs and guns. However, those who knew Donnie insisted that the hardest substance he ever used was beer. More sinister theories emerged, including speculation that Donnie was killed at the party, his body burned, and his truck buried. Despite these rumors, law enforcement maintained that they lacked sufficient evidence to confirm or deny any particular theory. Lt. John McCallum of the Vermont State Police stated, "We don't know what happened to him. We don't have information to say he was a victim of harm or to say that any other possible theory is valid. Evidence is all still lacking." For over 15 years, Donnie's family waited for answers. In October 2021, they received assistance from Adventures with Purpose, an Oregon-based organization specializing in underwater searches for missing persons. The team conducted a thorough search of the Waterbury Reservoir, but their efforts yielded no results. However, a breakthrough finally came in October 2022, nearly 16 years after Donnie's disappearance. Upon the request of one of Donnie's co-workers, Adventures with Purpose returned to the area to search additional bodies of water. On October 4th, just days after what would have been Donnie's 50th birthday, the team made a startling discovery. Using sonar equipment, they identified an object submerged in approximately 10 feet of water in the Winooski River in Duxbury, near the Duxbury Community Gardens. Upon closer inspection, divers confirmed that the object was indeed Donnie's missing red Ford F-150. The Vermont State Police scuba team and crime scene search team took over the recovery efforts. During the extraction process, which didn't go smoothly, the truck flipped over, potentially compromising some evidence. Personal effects were recovered, including a watch, a jacket, and a pair of glasses, but no human remains were found. In the weeks following the truck's discovery, volunteers searched along the river, retrieving various items including CDs, clothing, bone fragments of unknown origin, and a rifle. All evidence was turned over to the Vermont State Police for further analysis. Despite this significant development, the case of Donald Messier remains officially unsolved. The discovery of his truck has provided some answers, but has also raised new questions. Investigators have not been able to confirm whether Donnie was in the vehicle when it entered the river, and the circumstances surrounding how the truck ended up in the water remain unclear. As of now, Donald Messier's disappearance continues to be an active missing person case. The recovery of his truck after 16 years has reignited interest in the investigation, but the ultimate fate of Donnie himself remains a mystery. His family, friends, and the community of Waitsfield continue to seek closure, hoping that further analysis of the recovered evidence might finally reveal what happened to Donald Messier on that October night in 2006. In the bustling city of Los Angeles, a devoted mother's sudden disappearance sent shockwaves through her community and left investigators grappling with a perplexing mystery. Heidi Plank, a 39-year-old financial controller, vanished without a trace on October 17, 2021, leaving behind her 10-year-old son and a trail of unanswered questions. The day Heidi disappeared began like any other Sunday. She attended her son's football game in Downey, a city in Los Angeles County. However, her ex-husband, Jim Wayne, noticed something was amiss. Heidi appeared unusually anxious and left the game at halftime. This would be the last time Jim or their son would see her. Later that evening, at approximately 6:30 p.m., surveillance cameras captured Heidi walking her dog, Seven, in downtown Los Angeles near the intersection of Hope and Flower Streets. This seemingly mundane act would become a crucial piece of evidence in the investigation that followed. Roughly 30 minutes after the surveillance footage was recorded, Heidi's dog was found wandering alone inside a high-end apartment complex known as Hope Plus Flower. The discovery of Seven without his owner raised immediate concerns, but it would take several more days before the full gravity of the situation became apparent. Between Sunday, October 17th, and Wednesday, October 20th, friends and family attempted to contact Heidi multiple times. Their calls and text messages went unanswered, an unusual occurrence for the typically responsive mother. While initially more annoyed than worried, alarm bells began to ring when Heidi failed to pick up her son from school on October 20th. Jim Wayne, recognizing the severity of the situation, filed a missing persons report with the Los Angeles Police Department that same day. As investigators began to piece together Heidi's last known movements, they encountered their first significant obstacle. Attempts to access the GPS in Heidi's car and the location services for her Apple devices proved fruitless. All had been disabled. The investigation took a crucial turn when Jim Wayne attempted to track Seven through his microchip. This led to the discovery that on the night of October 17th, a resident of the Hope Plus Flower apartment complex had found the dog wandering on one of the upper floors. The resident had alerted the chip company, providing investigators with their first solid lead. Armed with this information, law enforcement obtained surveillance footage from Hope Plus Flower. The video revealed Heidi entering the building on the evening of her disappearance, but crucially, there was no footage of her leaving. This led investigators to believe that Heidi may have attended a party at the complex that night. As the search for Heidi intensified, the LAPD conducted a wellness check at her home. They found the residence in pristine condition, but notably, Heidi's phone and laptops were left behind. This discovery only deepened the mystery surrounding her disappearance. The investigation took a grim turn when forensic evidence recovered at Hope Plus Flower prompted a weeks-long search of the Chiquita Canyon landfill. The working theory was that something may have happened to Heidi at the party, and her body could have been disposed of via a trash chute that emptied into a dumpster. Despite extensive efforts, the search yielded no trace of Heidi. One line of inquiry focused on Heidi's employer, Camden Capital Partners. Jason Sugarman, a managing partner at the firm, had been accused by the Securities and Exchange Commission of defrauding a Native American tribe's pension funds out of $43 million. While no direct connection has been established between this case and Heidi's disappearance, it remains an avenue of investigation. As the investigation continued, detectives meticulously combed through Heidi's personal and professional life, seeking any clues that might shed light on her disappearance. They interviewed colleagues, friends, and acquaintances, trying to piece together Heidi's final days and hours. The LAPD's Missing Persons Unit, led by Detective Merrill, worked tirelessly to follow up on every lead. They retraced Heidi's steps, analyzed cell phone records, and scrutinized financial transactions. Despite their efforts, no significant breakthroughs emerged. 6 months after Heidi's disappearance, law enforcement held a press conference to update the public and appeal for new information. Detective Merrill stated, "We're committed to finding Heidi and bringing closure to her family. We urge anyone with information, no matter how insignificant it may seem, to come forward." Jim Wayne, Heidi's ex-husband, has remained a vocal advocate for the search efforts. He's organized community searches, distributed flyers, and maintained an active social media presence to keep Heidi's case in the public eye. "Our son asks about his mother every day," Jim shared in a televised interview. "We won't give up until we have answers." As of today, Heidi Plank remains missing. She is described as 5'3", weighing 120 pounds, with blonde hair and blue eyes. At the time of her disappearance, she was last seen wearing jeans and a gray sweater, driving a 2017 gray Range Rover with California license plate U840X0. The circumstances surrounding Heidi's disappearance continue to baffle investigators. The seemingly ordinary Sunday that began with a football game ended in a perplexing mystery that has left a family in anguish and a community searching for answers. For now, these questions remain unanswered. But for Heidi's family, friends, and the dedicated investigators working on her case, the search for truth continues. They hold on to hope that one day the mystery of what happened to Heidi Plank will be solved, bringing long-awaited answers and closure to those who loved her.